The Secrets of Star Wars is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit GiveStarQuest.com.
I am Emily Swallow, also known as the Armorer on The Mandalorian. And I'm just giving a little shout out to the Secrets of Star Wars podcast because this is the way.
Hello there.
It's a power that Jedi have that lets them control people and make things float.
Impressive. Every word in that sentence was wrong.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
It's against my programming to impersonate a deity.
That's not how the Force works.
Force is with me, and I am with the Force, and I fear nothing.
Remember, the Force will be with you, always.
You're listening to The Secrets of Star Wars, where we talk about everything connected to that galaxy far, far away. From movies to books, TV shows, and more, like toys and merch, we're looking at the deeper themes and meanings found in the Star Wars universe. And today we are discussing the more I just mentioned about our favorite toys, merch, collectibles, and memories with all of our Star Wars stuff. So I'm your host, Jeff Haecker, and joining me on the panel is Thomas Salerno. Hey, Thomas.
Hello there, Jeff.
And Kathryn Laffrey. Hey, Kathryn.
Hey, Jeff.
And Jon Koral. Hey, Jon.
Hi, Jeff.
All right. So before we kind of get into what the specific kind of toys and things we like, I was just going to kind of give a brief history, and feel free to jump in anywhere too that y'all want, but just a brief history before we kind of discuss our specifics. But so for those who may not know, a little bit of history is that movies back in the 70s and at the time didn't really sell toys. It was mostly TV, like He-Man, Masters of the Universe. Most of the toys came from most of the toys were from the TV show. There weren't really a lot of movie or toy lines based on movies. And when George Lucas was pitching Star Wars and making it, most toy manufacturers were not interested in the toys. And he also had a deal with Fox that he would keep the merchandise and toy rights. So when Star Wars exploded in popularity, there were no toys in 1977. Manufacturers usually had a few years of lead time, but Lucas had kind of kept things secret from the outside of production. And he found a partner in Kenner who made the toys. So for the 1977 holiday season, Kenner sold a certificate early bird package, which basically gives you a certificate you can mail into Kenner to be redeemed for the set of the first 4 figures. And those were Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, Chewbacca, and R2-D2. And it also kind of contained a diorama display stand, stickers, and a membership card. And they weren't shipped until 1978. So, they basically, you could buy a certificate, but not the toys, which is kind of interesting. I don't know if, kids now would buy that or would be okay with that. But did anyone have that, like get that certificate, or did y'all, or know people who didn't get the toys at Christmas 77, but got them, later?
I think there are probably some kids in my school that had the stickers and waiting for it. I was always the kid in class who had to draw R2-D2 for everybody. So I know there was a lot of hype for like waiting for toys and things like that. So yeah, it was kind of fun to be a kid during that time, but I didn't realize how much else was going on at that time till I stopped and looked at 77 and 78 and the toys that were competing, and kind of had some insights as to why I probably didn't have a lot of Star Wars toys.
Yeah. Yeah, like definitely at the time, I think this might be your note, John, about the popular toys were other things. Yeah. If you want to mention that.
Yeah. Well, the big thing was, they were on that, if people have a chance to watch the Toys That Made Us on that Netflix series, they talk about how G.I. Joe and Barbie were 2 of the bigger toys at the time. And literally bigger because they were like 12-inch characters and not just the small toys characters that we're used to seeing with the Star Wars. And so those were 2 of the really big ones. And then there were, lots of different toys back then. But like you were saying, most of them were based on TV shows and stuff, and not at all with the movies. And So it was pretty neat to see that George Lucas specifically wanted to go with that smaller toy size, because he wanted to not just sell figures, he wanted to sell ships as well, which was pretty neat. And then that was why I think, I don't know if it would say revolutionary or something, but that was a big part of his toy line, was all the different figures, but then adding the ships, and then even battle scenes and stuff like the Death Star, and other like the gun turret that you had with on Hoth or something like that. I mean, they had a lot of those kind of things for toys.
Yeah.
He had big competition too at the time. I remember more kids playing with Battlestar Galactica stuff than with Star Wars. And especially through like 79, because it was big. It was on TV. I actually came across a newspaper ad that says, as seen on TV. And you got like the Cylon Interceptor and all the other, the Viper Fighter and all that stuff. So I remember kids in school playing with those. I think my brothers had those too. So I had 2 younger brothers. I think they got to have those toys. I had the Easy Bake Oven.
Not surprising then that like Battlestar and Star Wars got into that whole legal entanglement. If Star Wars competitor is like selling all these toys because it's on TV, and there was the legal thing where it's like, oh, you're ripping off Star Wars and all that mess.
Yeah, and Kenner, and from that Toys That Made Us, I did watch it recently, and it's that's a good show overall to watch. But the Star Wars episode, I think it's the first episode, is very good. But the manufacturer Kenner was a very small company at the time. Like Star Wars was kind of their, like, because no one wanted to do the Star Wars merch because they didn't think they would have the time to do it, because normally they take a few years, like I said earlier. So they found Kenner, and Kenner decided to work with Lucasfilm on it. And then the toys, the new films, Empire and Return of the Jedi, and then later the prequels. Each movie generated more figures and more toys, and that's continued.
And the special editions too.
Right. Yeah.
I think around the time I started collecting was when the special editions were coming out, and they could basically re-release all the characters they had before, because it's like, we still just had those original 3 movies, just in like the newer versions that were on TV. But you also saw, and maybe we'll get into this a little bit later, I also remember toys based on the books specifically.
I've got some that I'm going to show.
Yeah, oh, nice. Yeah.
I'll post, and I have my collection that I'm going to share pictures of on the Discord. Since this is not a video podcast, because I'd just be showing, I have this figure and this figure. But yeah, each new film or project has generated new merch, from the 3.75 inch figure scale, which is what the Star Wars ones were based on, to Barbie size collector's editions. And they've also created more interactivity over the years by incorporating some like kind of cool technology for the time, like some of the 90s figures, the re-release figures in like the late 90s had these little comm badge things that you could buy a scanner and it would like play an audio clip. And I think episode 1, most figures came with that similar thing too, but it's like the comm badge that they have in the movies, but it's just like a little chip thing. And then even in the now, like, Lego started in 99, and which is funny because like right before I was like done kind of playing with Lego as a kid, it was right after I got done with playing Lego as a kid. So I could have had all these old sets that would be, worth a good amount of money right now if I collected them at the time. But Lego now has the smart bricks, which I don't know if y'all seen those, but it like you put them in your sets, and it like you can kind of lets them kind of talk to each other, and you can do like a space battle of an X-Wing versus TIE fighter or things like that, where it'll play sounds and play like, that you hit the TIE fighter or whatever. So like it's just kind of cool, the kind of stuff they've kind of been able to do. But yeah, so we can kind of get into just generally overall, we've kind of touched on it already, but what is this kind of stuff that you collected, or just general memories before we kind of get into more details? But John, you kind of said, but did you have any from like the first run of the movies back in the 80s?
Yeah, when I saw Star Wars, the original, I was only 3 years old.
Okay.
So there's a little bit I remember of that. But the big thing was back then in 1990 or 1980 when Empire came out, that was when I really started getting into the toys, because for my birthday, I went with some friends and cousins or whatever to some people I knew. My parents took us to see the Empire Strikes Back, and it was so cool afterwards. You're like, oh my gosh, Darth Vader's Luke's father, and all that stuff. But then that's when I was getting a lot of my toys too. And during that period between then and Return of the Jedi, I ended up getting, whether it be birthdays or Christmas or whatever, I had the original AT-AT, the Snowspeeder, the X-Wing, the Y-Wing, the Millennium Falcon, speeder bikes. And then I'd have a friend down the street who he had the original Death Star, all 5 levels of it with the foam,
oh, wow.
Garbage collector, and stuff. And I think I know he had like a land speeder, the Scout Walker, and he had a lot of different things as well. And so it was just, you would always, no matter where you would be, you'd be able to, we'd be playing constantly, and sometimes even too with Return of the Jedi, he would have like the Wicket the Ewok, and then I'd have the Witch Doctor one, and stuff. Yeah, all those kind of things from Return of the Jedi. But it was, but it was just really neat to see how I remember playing with those though, because how, and I looked up videos, like old ads and stuff to see what some of the stuff I used to have was, and it would be like, oh yeah, I remember. I forgot how big the Millennium Falcon was, and the AT-AT was huge. And because you had to be able to put 2 people in the Snowspeeder, it had to be really big too. And, and then it was just seeing all that, and then how they lit up the guns for the AT-AT with the red light and made a little noise, or the noise that the Snowspeeder made. And even though that wasn't very accurate to what you could probably do today, when you're 8 years old, 7 years old, whatever, it's like, it was still incredibly cool to have those kind of noises added to your toys that you were, already big into imagination with.
Nice. And Kathryn, you said you didn't have many of the toys, but you had friends or family that had them, some of kind of those original ones.
Yeah, I was just with my dad a couple of days ago, and I was like, Dad, do you remember, did we have any Star Wars toys in the house? And I mean, we're a family of 5, and I was the second oldest. So, it was kind of funny listening to him talk. And he's like, I always wondered why you're into that space stuff. And I was like, okay, whatever, Dad. Just, did anybody have any toys? I could have sworn I remember like my brother's having something. He's like, yeah, what's the one with I think there was an X-Wing. It's got like a round ball in the middle and 2 things up and down. And I'm like, Dad, that's a TIE fighter. He's like, whatever. But he does remember. And I have like memories of my brothers, probably my youngest brother's about the same age as John, having an X-Wing and the TIE fighter. But the big thing was, I think it was 4th or 5th grade when the toys finally came out and we would have indoor recess. All of a sudden, everybody's Star Wars toys came out because you could bring your toys to school for rainy days. And oh my goodness, one of my best friends, he had the Darth Vader helmet loaded with all the characters, and we would just gather around and everybody was a character and start acting it out. And I still have vivid memories of helping put Princess Leia's little rubber cape back on. So, 'cause it was always like the girls knew how to dress the dolls, the guys didn't. So but yeah, it was just neat memories of like trying to think, what was it? Why didn't I have them? And I know it wasn't until we had the Ewoks. My big thing was stuffed animals. I wanted an Ewok so badly, but it never happened. Now I collect toys.
Nice. What about you, Thomas? You and I are about the same age as millennials. So what were your what did you collect as a kid?
Oh man. Pretty much my brother and I collected any Star Wars thing we could get our hands on. Mostly the action figures that were coming around the same time as the first the special editions and then the prequels. So mostly I would say we had special edition action figures, and then episode 1 I think was mostly, we had a lot of Phantom Menace stuff, and a lot of the play sets too that they came out with at around this time. There was a Hoth play set. I had a Yavin play set. There was we had most of the vehicles, and the vehicles, they had scaled them down by this time, but they had like little tiny figures, like itty bitty, almost less than an inch tall, like figures that would go inside. You would often lose those, but like they would go inside like the vehicles. I think what really sticks in my mind, and it may have been one of the first Star Wars things we got, my late aunt, God rest her soul, my mom's elder sister, she worked at our local Blockbuster at the time, and eventually, so they had this big life-size Darth Vader stand-up, this cardboard stand-up to promote the VHSs of the special editions. And it was like, it was like this 6-foot-tall cardboard Darth Vader. When they were going to throw it out, when they didn't need it anymore, she gave it to us.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
So I remember we had in our room this 6-foot-tall cardboard Darth Vader that we just leaned against a wall, and we had that forever. I don't know what became of it. Probably in one of our moves, we just got rid of it. But like that sticks in my mind. We had the Legos, of course, and those, if you remember those telescoping plastic lightsabers, where it was basically a flashlight that had like a telescoping like plastic. My brother and I were constantly hitting each other with those. But yeah, like we, so many memories of Star Wars toys, of both playing with them, making our own narratives, and one of my like very fond memories from childhood. I was like an aspiring filmmaker back then, so I was constantly taking my dad's VHS-C camcorder and going around and making little movies, and a lot of them were Star Wars movies that I made with my action figures. In fact, I filmed my own Star Wars Episode 7. That's what I called it. Years before there was a real Episode 7, and it had a planet killer in it, just like the real Episode 7. But yes, just so many amazing memories with Star Wars toys. Star Wars toys and Jurassic Park toys were basically the toys of my childhood. That was most of our stuff.
Nice. See, so by the time I was wanting to buy the toys, because I grew up like as I was a fan of Star Wars from probably when I was 5 or 6. I don't really remember. It was because I just remember it would be before we had the VHS tapes. It would be something like it would come on. They would rerun them during the holidays, usually around Thanksgiving. So I would watch them on TV. And then eventually we were able, by collecting cereal box tops, because that was the thing back then, you can mail them in and get the V8 and, pay the fee, and you get the set of VHS tapes. And this was before the special editions. And then I would just watch those on repeat. And speaking of collecting, I think I still have those tapes and the special edition tapes somewhere in my house. But I played with other toys. Like I had Power Rangers and Ninja Turtles and Transformers. But I was but I was a little bit older when I got into Star Wars, and I think I was randomly, my dad would go to like collector shows because he was big in like Hot Wheels and things like that. So I would go with him to like collector shows sometimes, and there was one that I went to, and like, I mean, of course, people were selling Star Wars stuff, and I just randomly decided to buy 3 figures. I want to say it was a Darth Vader, 3PO, and R2D2, or no, Hoth, Luke Skywalker. But in the packaging, like, and these were the 90s, these were like the early to mid 90s run of figures. And I just started collecting them. And like from then on, for at least a couple of years, at least through like episode 1, that was like what my parents gave me as gifts, was like getting me the figures. And I kept them all in the packaging. I never opened them.
Oh, wow.
I think the only like figure I ever opened was I think I had the speeder bike from Return of the Jedi, and that one came with a Luke Skywalker figure. So I think I did open that one just because it was like, oh, it's a vehicle, I want to play with it. But I kept everything in the packaging for the other figures, and I would display them in my room. And like anytime I'd buy new figures, I would be like, oh, I got to move things around and to try to get them all to fit on a shelf or whatever. But yeah, I collected that. That was mainly what I collected. But I had some other like Hot Wheels and Micro Machines stuff. I had there was a Millennium Falcon playset that was a Micro Machine set, but it was maybe about a foot long, but you could open it and like it was kind of like a play set, but the figures were like half an inch tall, and they were just little ones on a little stand that you could move around in there. But
Jeff, do you remember they in the 90s they came out with these little play sets for Star Wars that were based on what's now the Legends books. And they came with these little maybe 2-inch spaceships, like maybe 5 or 6 of them from the book. And also these little half an inch little people, like little characters from the book. Do you remember these little tiny sets that you could get? There was Thrawn trilogy ones, like Heir to the Empire. There was Truce at Baccarat. I had that one.
Oh, nice. No, I don't remember those. I did. So the other thing I collected was the books. I think at one point I had every single Legends Star Wars novel. I got rid of about a chunk of them. I figured ones I wouldn't read again, but I kept a lot of them. But yeah, that was kind of my, and then, and then as an adult, I've gotten into Lego a little bit. Not, it's an expensive hobby. So I only get a set every now and then, but I have some of and these are the newer run Legos, not the original like 90s runs, because those can be expensive, or you're buying an incomplete set or something. So, but yeah, that's kind of mine. So yeah, we can kind of go. I think we can kind of go back a little bit and talk about the first run. John, I know you talked some about them, but if you had any other like specifics that you wanted to mention about those toys, or just what they meant to you, like what playing with them was, and for you too, Kathryn, in that era.
For me, the big thing was too, it's everywhere. Well, when I was watching that documentary, the one thing I didn't it makes sense now, but I didn't think of it then, is that I forget which person said it. It wasn't the question of, did you see Star Wars, the original movie? It was actually, how many times have you seen it? And because of how popular it was. And it's because of that kind of stuff that every store I would go into as a kid, you'd always look for a toy department. And, you know, a lot of department stores today don't have a toy department like and it's like, I remember going to one of our local stores, and it got bought out. I think eventually it became a Macy's, and then it moved from that location. But it was like, I remember I would always go to the first floor in that place because they had like a 3 or 4 little row toy area. And then on the end of that was always the Star Wars figures and stuff that they would have. And then maybe an aisle would have a few little of the ships or something. And I'll never forget, though, when I went there the one time with, right after Return of the Jedi came out, or after that. And I went down there, and all of a sudden there was Boushh the Bounty Hunter. And I never had seen that. And that was, of course, the character that Leia played in Return of the Jedi when she rescues Han. And I was like, can we get it? Can we get the toy? It's like a figure for a few bucks, whatever it was. And I got that. And then the next day at school, I even took it to school, even though, and I remember showing it to a friend, and I'm like, look, and then took off the helmet. I'm here to rescue you. See, it's Princess Leia, and it's like, it was funny because nobody could find that toy, that figure and stuff. And it was just neat, though, because, that was like one of the few times that I went out and specifically myself, and I found something that, because you would see a lot of the same characters over and over. And I'm like, okay, I don't need another stormtrooper. I don't need another biker scout, or whatever it is. That's like, back then. But I just remember where so many stores that you wouldn't expect to have a toy area would be selling Star Wars toys sometimes. And that's what I thought, was a fond memory.
Oh, yeah. Like riding bikes up to Kmart with whatever money you had for the day from somebody and going through the toys. But, oh, man, the craziest thing I remember, too, was making sure that when you had Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker battling it out with their little telescoping lightsabers and those original figures, you had to make sure you didn't go at it too hard because the little telescoping part was so thin that would snap off or just get bent and not go back in. And then you just have, you know, them walking around with bent lightsabers.
Or in my case, with my little Kenner Darth Vader, he had like a little removable red, stick for like his lightsaber, and like, but in the part of the lightsaber that he held in his hand was a little light, so that the little red part would actually glow when you pressed this button on his back. But then I lost his red lightsaber stick thing because you could remove it. And eventually, so he still had this light, but he had no light. This little flashlight with I just pressed the button on his back and this little light would come on, but he had no lightsaber to go with it. And I'm like, so like losing pieces of the action figure was always frustrating.
Arms and legs.
And that's why you keep them in the package.
Helmets. Yeah. Yeah. But I wanted to play with the toys though. Like,
yeah. I mean, if I had gotten the toys earlier than I did, because I probably got them in like middle school, probably like 6th, 7th grade or something. I probably would have played with them, but by that time, I don't know. I was into collecting, and I wasn't really playing with toys at that point. So I kind of just collected them for my own fun, but.
I think what helped was that my brother was 5 years younger than me. So there was enough of an age gap where he's still really into toys.
Yeah.
So he kind of infected me and we would play together a lot. So it's like, having a younger brother who was still in his like toys are the best thing ever phase is like, was helpful.
I was just glad when the books came out and you had the 90s kind of revival stuff that they started bringing the Happy Meal and the, Burger King meal toys. Cause then I was a young mom and I'm like, all right, I'm getting my toys now. Let's go get a Happy Meal, So that was fun to collect those. And especially when the new movies came out and find the new little things. My favorite one though is, where is he? He's back here. He's a cute little, super big, bobbly head, C-3PO. But what's really neat about him is if you look in the bottom of his foot, there's a hole in the bottom of his foot, and there's scenes from the movie. So you can like flip through like a little, what were those things called?
Yeah,
like a Viewmaster.
Like a Viewmaster, yeah. And so there's actually little teeny tiny pictures from all the movies in there.
Wow.
See, I took all my kids' toys and kept them.
Yeah, they did some cool stuff with those. Like there. I remember. I mean, I was out of like Happy Meals, but there was a. I want to say it was a Darth Maul. I think speeder bike thing that would like balance on. And it was from McDonald's or something, but it was like it was one of those that it would. Like it had a center thing that would spin around, but it would like balance on it. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I remember seeing that around. But yeah, and then before we kind of move away from like the original run of figures, we have to give a special mention to the Boba Fett prototype figure, which was which they didn't release this one because they had a prototype that had a firing rocket that was spring loaded, and they thought it was going to be too dangerous, so they canceled making it. Meaning, if you have one of those prototypes, they're very rare and considered some of the most valuable toys in the world. And I think what I was reading is that it's one that was authenticated by one of those toy graders said that one sold for $1.3 million.
Wow!
Because it's that rare. So yeah, if you have one of those somewhere, you might be sitting on a lot of money there. But yeah, most of what I had, just unless there's anything y'all wanted to say on the kind of the original run of figures.
I want to know if anyone still has the the punch bop figure of Darth Vader still. That was a big deal. He's a big blow up Darth Vader, and you could just like beat on him, and he was weighted, so he'd always come back.
Oh, I remember those. Yeah.
Yeah.
They had those.
Yeah.
So I wonder if any of those ever survived, because everybody liked beating up on Darth Vader.
Yeah. I had a Darth Vader piggy bank. So now it was neat because he was about 12 inches tall, the figure of Darth Vader, on the base, and the base was the piggy bank. And the idea is that every time you put a coin in the piggy bank, his lightsaber would light up, his arm would go up and down with the lightsaber, and he'd turn, and the Imperial March would play. It would go dun 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 dun, and then he would say something from the movie. So in this little tinny James Earl Jones voice, he would go, "All too easy," or he would say, like, "I find your lack of faith disturbing," or something, like just any of his lines from the movie. I think actually most of them were from Empire, but yeah, so we would just get a kick of like just putting coins in the piggy bank just so his lightsaber would light up, he'd move around and say something. That was really amusing.
Yeah. And one of the other, before again, something that reminded me of, one of the other cool things about toys of that era of the original run is they made vehicles and things that didn't make it into the movies, but have since made it into Star Wars in the Disney era. Some of it was in the Clone Wars animated show before Disney bought it. Like, I think there were Juggernauts in that. I think that's the main one I'm thinking of. But then in the more recent years, even as recent as the Mandalorian and Grogu, there was they brought in some of these vehicles and things that they made toys of, but were never in a movie until now, or a show until now. Like, I think the Mandalorian had a troop transport carrier thing.
And then like one of the characters even mentions like, "Hey, those are rare."
Yeah.
Like, do you remember that? Like they're looking at one. I think it's the one where they're escaping from that Imperial facility, and it's the troop carrier variant that has the turret on top. And like one of the characters, the blue fish guy, I can never remember his name.
Oh, Mithril.
Like, yeah, he says like, "Hey, that's a rare vehicle," and I'm just like, "Ha ha, I know, because the toy is rare."
Yeah, like in the Juggernaut, that was something that was. Oh, maybe that wasn't a toy, but that was something they brought in Rogue One and other things. But
yeah, it was in the books, the Juggernaut, before, because that's another thing. Like I used to and I had to recollect them because I lost my original copies. But all of the Essential Guide to books that they came out with in the 1990s. So I had Vehicles and Vessels, I had Weapons and Technology, Alien Species, Planets and Moons, all these books. And that's where I first learned about a lot of this stuff that was only in the novels or the comic books, but had not made appearances in the films. And so and just recently, I had the chance to interact with online as part of another group that I'm a part of. One of the authors of the Alien Species, the Essential Guide to Alien Species book, which was really neat because, I'm part of this writers group, and she's like, "Yeah, I've written a Star Wars book," and I'm like, "Which one?" And she's like, "Alien Species," and I'm like, I have a copy of that. Like, my original copies, of course, were so well loved that the spines broke and all the pages fell out. So I've had to resort to eBay to get, in good near mint condition copies of all those. But
yeah, I had that's like I said earlier, I collected books, but yeah, I had those too. And that before we had the internet and Wikipedia and you could look anything up, that was your Wikipedia. Yeah. And they would have to they would have to release updated versions because new like stuff would come out, or like when the prequels came out, they'd have to re-update because they were kind of going off of like the little bits that were in the expanded universe at the time. But yeah, I had all those too, and I would I would read those like back to back constantly about like
for hours. Yeah.
I think too, when Return of the Jedi came out, I remember getting some Star Wars like cards, like baseball card packets and stuff, and I had a handful of those, where they would have characters in it or a scene or something. And then also, I remember getting a couple of I think it was probably Return of the Jedi comic books, but I never got the whole series. There was a handful or something, and I believe that was what it was. Or it was...
Were those Marvel, by the way, out of curiosity?
I don't remember. I haven't seen them in years. I just remember, I think I came across them, but the thing is, though, it's like in the mid to late 80s, I started collecting some comic books, but it wasn't, a few years later, I started collecting some comic books and baseball cards. And those I kept in good shape, but I always played with the toys that I had, like whether they be Transformers, Star Wars, G.I. Joe, or whatever. But yeah, I can't remember. I think I could find that video or that comic at some point. But I don't know what it was, who made it.
Well, Jeff and Thomas, listening to you guys talk about your everything books that tell you all about everything in Star Wars. For me, the everything book was the Sears catalog. And you'd flip to the toy section and see what toys were coming out. So that was always fun to see, what was in there. You'd have all the Star Wars stuff and everything else. So
yeah,
cool.
I remember those catalogs. It was funny. Like my parents told me when I was very young that Santa Claus has all the catalogs. So what you need to do is flip through all the catalogs and then clip out the pages that have the toys you want and include that in the letter to Santa so that Santa knows which catalog to get the toy. And I, as a kid, like, oh, okay. And so I remember looking through, the Sears and Macy's catalogs and the toy section.
Yeah. Oh, I did a quick search right now. It was Marvel that did those comics. It was a four book or comic series, and I had the second one, I believe. So
yeah, because they did a whole Star Wars comics. I think even after, it might have been even after the first movie, or it might have been after Empire, but they did a whole series of comics. Marvel did, and then I think it was in the 90s that Dark Horse got the comic rights, and that's when a lot of the expanded universe stuff came out of those, like telling the stories like thousands of years before the movies, like the Old Republic stuff, and then some of the stories like Dark Empire were in those as well. But yeah, so like getting to the kind of the 90s is, and we've already kind of talked about it, but that's the stuff that I had. Like I probably have most of the 90s, like the Kenner 90s era figures before they started re-releasing them for special edition. I may not have all of them, but then when the special editions came out, and the prequels are coming out, they did all kinds of figure releases, and I probably don't have I know I don't have a complete collection of them, but I would get any new, and I don't know, and my parents got them for me as gifts, and I guess they like must have had an Excel spreadsheet or something where they tracked what I had, because I do have a couple duplicates. I did find, I think I had a couple Imperial Royal Guards, but I think for the most part I had just individual, like the singles of each one. But yeah, that's what I collected. And like I said, I would display them. I would have them in my room, and I'd like put them up on the shelves. And like, I kind of had a system where you would like slot them in, where they would like slide in next to each other. Like the card would like hold the next one in place. And then, but anytime I got a new one, I'd have to like if I wanted to reorganize, I'd have to reshuffle them.
I had some very strange, like character, like obscure characters, and so I'd be interested to Jeff to know if you had some of these characters. I had if you remember that 4-armed pod racer, Gasgano.
I think I might have that one.
His arms would pop off, and they're very easy to lose. I had 3PO without his plate, so the episode 1 3PO. I also had normal 3PO, but I had the episode 1 3PO. But yeah, some of those, like, I don't know why, like sometimes I would just be like, oh, this, even before I had seen like the movie, I'm just like, this character looks interesting. And so like, some of the weird aliens, I would gravitate towards. But we had most of the characters you would imagine, like the main characters, but also a lot of very obscure aliens and things like that.
Yeah, I know for episode 1, I think I had almost all of the figures of like the Phantom Menace specific run. Because they would put them with because there were like multiple, like I think it was Power of the Force was the series of figures that they would do. But yeah, for episode 1, I had most. And when I was looking through them, and I'll share these on Discord later. I think I sent this one to y'all. But when I pulled out my figures of Mace Windu, Coyote-Mundi, and Adi Gallia, who were the Jedi Council, Mace Windu has a blue lightsaber in the figure. Coyote has like a purplish blue, and Adi Gallia has a red one. Because that was the thing with the toys, is like in the movie in Phantom Menace, those characters never ignited their lightsaber, so you could be whatever you didn't know what they were making. They probably were making the toys like years before the movie came out, so they like had to go off of like what information they had. Because I can't remember when Sam Jackson decided he wanted a purple lightsaber, but for Mace Windu, but they must have done it before that. It came out in episode 2 where you actually see his lightsaber. So I just thought that was funny, is that there's been, controversies about canon for some of these characters in the last few years with Acolyte and other things. But I just thought that was funny that they had a different lightsaber colors than they're aligned to.
Well, even the vintage ones though too, especially Luke Skywalker, he has a yellow lightsaber.
Oh yeah.
And then not the blue. And then I think when he was in Return of the Jedi, I think they finally gave him like a green one, and stuff. But even the Bespin Luke Skywalker in Empire Strikes Back has a yellow lightsaber a lot of the times.
Mm-hmm.
So
that must be like, because I know recently they canonized Luke having a yellow lightsaber in the comic books. So I wonder if they took inspiration from the toys. Because you got to know, like obviously a lot of these people creating Star Wars stuff know about the history of the toys, and I feel like they include little Easter eggs to that.
Yeah.
Well, in the Netflix series, it did say, or the episode, it did say, he's like, yeah, there were some Luke Skywalkers with blonde hair and then some with brown hair. And it's like, depending on who it was, but you just have to assume it was probably just a mistake, or, it wasn't that it was like intentional and stuff. So who knows, like if some of the stuff was how it was created.
Well, and the funny thing is those mistakes are worth more money because they're rare. Like I remember, I don't think I had it, but I had one version of I think it was the Luke from Return of the Jedi where he's in the black like outfit. There was one version that has a longer lightsaber, and the longer lightsaber was worth more money for whatever, because I guess it was more rare. So I remember that being a thing, and I might have seen it at toy shows where the longer saber like was worth more, but. Yeah, I was going to show before I forget this. I have to show this one for Kathryn. You can see my Grand Admiral Thrawn figure.
Grand Admiral Thrawn.
Yeah, so
neat.
They had some of these expanded universe figures that you could get in this one's dated 1998. I probably got it a little bit later, but
does he have his little salamander creature on his back too?
Yeah,
nice.
Salamiri. Yeah.
And I also have a Mara Jade.
Yes.
Oh, sweet.
I think I also have a Luke. I have a Luke from the Dark Empire comics where he like goes to become an apprentice to Palpatine for a little while in that comic run. So he's got a red saber. I think I've got a Kyle Katarn figure. So yeah, like, cause that was a cool thing about going to those toy shows, is like you could see stuff like that, and like that, like I wouldn't know where to. They weren't selling these really in like these expanded universe figures at Walmart or anything. The only ones they really sold for that like that would have been like the Shadow of the Empire series, like, because that was the big like multimedia push in the late 90s. It had, because it was the Shadows of the Empire book, there was the video game, there was like comic book. It was kind of the in between Empire and Return of the Jedi, with Dash Rendar was the character. But so you could find toys for that, but like these more obscure ones, you would just have to, like, I don't know how they sold them. I guess they probably sold them to like within collector groups or something. I don't really know, but I ended up with these, so I thought they were cool. But yeah, there's a lot more that I don't have.
The Legos were always neat to have too, because I was, like my brother and I never sure we would construct what the manual told us to the first time around, but often we would end up taking it apart and reusing pieces to create brand new starships. Like I distinctly remember making one that, and also including things from other Lego vehicle sets that were not Star Wars. So I distinctly remember making this custom build that it had the TIE Fighter's cockpit module. It had the engines and a lot of other parts from the A-Wing. And then it had its body was like some subterranean vehicle from like another Lego set. And I remember it had like a giant revolving cannon that I put on the top, which I think was from the subterranean thing. And I called it a TIE gunship because I think I was mad that there was that the Republic never replaced the LAT with like its own Imperial gunship. So like I just ended up making my own TIE gunship out of parts that I could find.
Thomas, you're the original Rebuild the Galaxy guy.
yeah, right. I was rather proud of that particular build. I think that's why I remember it, and I remember keeping it intact for quite a long time before eventually taking it apart. I wish I had pictures of it.
Yeah, and Lego, some of the newer stuff I have, like I have the Millennium Falcon from the Force Awakens set. I remember I didn't get it when Force Awakens was coming out. I got it a few years later, but I got it. There was a Bricks and Minifigs Lego store, and they happened to have an unopened set of it, so I got that, and I've gotten a few other ones over the years. Like I wish I could get more because they're all really cool, but Lego is a pretty expensive hobby if you're for some of those sets. Some of the new ones, especially. Like I would want, like I was very close to buying the $600 or $800 Falcon but I was like, this would be my birthday present, Christmas present, Father's Day present for like 3 years because it's so expensive. But I was like, I can't justify it, but it would be really. So I have friends that have it and have other sets, and they're really cool. So
yeah, buying Lego sets are fun. I did spoil myself and get the Cobb Vanth speeder. Just put that one together.
Oh,
love this one.
It's the pod racer engine.
Oh yeah. He even has a little jug of blue milk in his little storage compartment.
That's not blue milk. That's his what is it, spatchka?
Well, no, his is a little milk carton, so I'll call it the blue milk.
Okay.
But it's fun. I mean, gosh, Lego toys are so cool. Why am I like getting into them now in my late 50s? I don't know, but I love them. But I did see a granny on Instagram. She's in her 90s and still plays with Lego, so I'm good. But I love the fact that there's some little pieces that you're like, what the heck is this and why is it on here? And then I realized, it was a little roller skate, but they were using it for a grill part. And then there was an ice skate that was a lever. So it's fun to see the little odds and ends that they put in there as different things.
The little greeblies, yeah.
Yeah, and the Lego stuff is cool too because it spawned its whole like subset of media for Star Wars. Like there's the Lego Star Wars games I think are very popular.
Those are fun.
I played demos or played little bits of them, but I never like played the full things. And there's whole, like we've covered them on this podcast. There's been the Lego Rebuild the Galaxy. There's been some other Lego versions like where they tell a whole story, but it's Lego I mean, it's computer generated, but they're using like telling it from the Lego perspective. So they can have a lot of fun by doing that because you can do things you couldn't do. And like if you're trying to tell like a more serious, story, but you can have like a character fall apart and be put back together because it's Lego. But yeah, some of we'll come back to Lego in a minute because I think John had some stuff on that. I mentioned I have at one point I had most of the expanded universe novels, but I've gotten rid of a chunk of them, but I've kept the ones I like. Of course, I kept the Thrawn books because those are the best. I haven't collected as many of the canon novels. I do have although there are some very cool collector's editions you can buy, but they're selling them as collector's editions. They're a lot of them are pricey, but they are very cool. They'll sell them with artwork or like there's the Thrawn books in canon. They've sold with like blue pages and like really nice covers and stuff. So they've so collecting books is cool too. I do have a paperback signed copy of A New Dawn, which was the very first canon novel. It's the one about Kanan and Hera before Rebels.
Yeah.
But it was like I found it at just a half price bookstore, and like when I got it home and I was reading it, on the first page it says like from John Jackson Miller, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. It's just a paperback, so it's not really worth much, but or at least I thought it was pretty cool that I have that. So
I have and I'm not sure if this is still in print anymore, but it was the Barnes and Noble collected edition, the hardback of the original novelizations of the trilogy.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've seen those, and they've started re-releasing some of the Legends novels in new collector's editions too. Like they've done that over the last few years. So
yeah, they have they all have the same kind of branding, where it's like black with this yellow stripe that says Legends on it. So now which is, I don't know how I feel about that, because like you used to get the Legends books and they all looked different, and they usually had very like their artwork would often be like the artwork that was on the old posters for the movies, but now they've kind of made all of the books look uniform. I understand why, because they want to keep Legends separate, but now the new editions of Legends all kind of look very uniform and samey, and I'm just like, oh, I miss those old covers.
I'll let you borrow my collection.
Yeah.
If you go back and read some of the very, very old ones from the 70s and 80s, they're pretty insane. Like especially the Han Solo and Lando Calrissian adventures. I love them, but I'm like, yeah, this is pretty wild. It was before those characters had really been established as to like, this is how they act and what they do. So there was more leverage for them to go on these crazy adventures. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I still have my copies of those. I think I wanted to keep them because they're just those specific ones were just a lot of fun. But so yeah, and then other types of common collectibles now, or like popular collectibles, are I know lightsabers have become a big thing. Like that if you go to Disney and you make a lightsaber, or you can buy like official lightsaber crystals and things from them. But there's a ton of other companies that make like their own versions of lightsabers. So, both for like cosplay and for like, there's groups that like you can actually like duel, like fight each other with lightsabers, like not like actual real lightsabers, but like you can, hit on each other with them and, stuff like that. So I think that's cool. And then Funko Pops, I know I'm not really big into Pops. I think I have one somewhere, but I know that's a huge market right now.
I used to be really into Funko Pops. I used to collect when that was first a thing. I was bitten by like the Funko Pop craze, and I had like a ton of them. I also at one point I subscribed. They used to have a Funko Star Wars box, a monthly subscription box, where you would get an exclusive Funko Pop from the box, as well as stickers and pins and all kinds of stuff. Like after a while, I just couldn't afford it. It was way too expensive. It was like $30 a month or something like that. But but yeah, I remember getting a few Funko Pops from that. I do have. Oh, you have the Thrawn one. This
is one of them. I have two, and this is from my oldest daughter. When I started podcasting, she's like, "Mom, you have to have your favorite character." So I have Thrawn and I have Ahsoka.
Right, I've seen your Ahsoka one in the background. Yeah, I do have one of those sabers from Disney, even though I've never been. There's an interesting story behind that. Is what happened is that like a friend of mine who's who used to be the deacon at our parish, him and his wife were gonna move to a smaller place, and so his wife's like, okay, you've got to get rid of some of this stuff that you've collected over the years. And so he had the Kylo Ren saber from Disney. And so he's like, he says to me, he's like, do you want it? And I'm like, sure, why not? I'm not gonna refuse. So I have it. I don't have it like anywhere hanging up in my room right now. I just haven't figured out how to mount it. But I do have, the Kylo Ren lightsaber, which is cool because it has the cross guard, and so it's like an actual like medieval broadsword or something. But like, yeah, I like that.
Yeah. When we've been to Disney multiple times, and the one time we did do the droid, so we each got an R2 unit, and then my wife did that one. My daughter got the BB-8 unit, and then my daughter and I both got lightsabers. One was hers is green, mine's blue. I let her choose the color because I would have gone the other way. I was gonna get the other one. I wasn't gonna do red. So, but no, we have some of those things. And I was wondering, and I can't remember is there something in those little robots you can get at Galaxy's Edge that kind of talk to each other like you're talking with the smart bricks or something.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Yeah.
I'd have to look that up. I can't remember.
I think they interact with each other when you turn them on, if there's two of them in the same room. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I wonder if they use that, because that was like 4 years ago when we were doing that. And, the smart bricks things, I think are they more recent? And I wonder if they use that similar technology or something.
Oh yeah, maybe. Yeah, smart bricks I think just came out this year or at the very end of last year. But
does anybody collect Black Series? The Black Series figures.
I wish. There's a store. There's a specific Star Wars toy store that's in a neighboring city that I've been to. And walking through there, I was like, if I had unlimited money, I'd be buying so many of these black figures because they are very cool.
They're cool. Yeah.
But
my brother and I started collecting those, but I have very specific character collecting goals for Black Series. Oh gosh, I should have it with me, but on the shelf behind me. So like, I've started my quest to get all of the bounty hunters from Empire Strikes Back.
Nice.
So I've got my favorite. I've got Bosk. So, and now I know I can't get like some of them, like I'm going to have to set. So like they don't make IG-88 anymore, but they make IG-11. So I'm just going to get IG-11 and pretend he's IG-88.
There you go.
That's fine. I'm not as a stickler about it. Or like, they don't make Boba Fett in like his Empire Strikes Back costume anymore. That's okay. I like Boba Fett's outfit from the Book of Boba Fett with the black. I think that's really cool. So I'm gonna I'm gonna eventually cobble together representatives of like all the bounty hunters from Empire Strikes Back, because I think that's a really cool group. And I don't know what I'll do after that, what I'll go for, but yeah, that's how I kind of like prevent myself from just getting all the figures. It's like, okay, like I have this specific goal, this specific scene of characters that I want to create. So
yeah, the Black Series are very cool. And there's been times where I've thought about like just getting one, but I'm kind of I can tend to be a completionist with things. So I'm like, if I start, it's not gonna be the end. And I'm like, so I haven't done those. But I mean, nowadays, like I'll go occasionally for a Lego set, but it might be like one set a year that I get, and it's not going to be like the huge ones. Because again, I would want all of the Lego sets, but there's a lot of cool merchant stuff. The one series that I do keep up with, I have one, I guess didn't make it back in the box, but we do the Hallmark Christmas
series.
So I don't get all of the Star Wars all of the Star Wars ornaments anymore, but I get like the one that's part of the collector series. So my mom started that years ago, and I've inherited. Now they're all up with me. So like I can make a whole Christmas tree just for Star Wars ornaments. And one of these days,
I might Life Day tree.
Yeah, exactly. But my wife won't let, she would let me put, she doesn't care if I put some on there, but I probably couldn't put all of them. But I have to like be strategic because I'm like, should I put a Darth Vader up near, a baby Jesus ornament or an angel ornament or something? So I've got to be
that's a throwback
strategic.
that's from the 70s. When all this was happening, there was also a big like charismatic Christian movement that was going on. There were people walking around with t-shirts saying Darth Vader's the devil. There was actually a book written about how bad Star Wars is for kids. So it was kind of interesting. I half wonder if that wasn't part of the reason why we didn't have a lot of Star Wars toys. That, and I was thinking about it because like all of us talking, we're adults and, playing with toys. And I really think that a lot of your collection as a kid is based on what your parents collected. My dad was big into Lionel trains and slot cars. And I do remember my brothers would have slot cars and stuff like that. So it's like he didn't go for the space toys. He went for the same toys that he liked as a kid. So it's fun to see how that affects your own collection as you get older. Who knows what I'll do to my own grandkids someday. Good Lord willing.
Yeah. So John, I know you had a little bit on here, but any other like branches of collectibles that y'all collect or that we haven't talked about that we should? I mean, there's tons of stuff. Oh yeah.
Artwork. Yeah. Cause I have a couple of pieces of art in the back. There's a specific artist, named, Jake Bartok, who does these great. I've got one where it's Obi-Wan dressed as a medieval knight instead of as a Jedi. It's Obi-Wan from the prequels, but he's dressed as a medieval knight. My brother gave that to me. My brother has a couple of pieces by him, including where he's got one that I also really want, where it's Din Djarin, Boba Fett, and Bo-Katan all in one scene together, which is really cool.
Oh, nice.
And he also did that Middle Earth Star Wars mashup painting that I really want. I'm probably going to ask for that one for Christmas because I really need that in my life. But combining my two favorite fictional worlds together. But yeah, I like collecting Star Wars art, and I would like to have like prints of all of the 3 original movie like posters too eventually.
I want to know if John ever had lunch boxes. You're the right age. Did you have any Star Wars lunch boxes, John?
I can't remember. I remember I remember a Snoopy one years ago. Then I had a Lone Ranger one at some point. And then I might have had something, but I don't remember offhand. It's like, no, I don't think I had if I did, it would have been maybe a Empire Strikes Back, but I don't know. I don't have a good memory of that necessarily. But yeah, I know. I remember, that was a big thing. You'd have your little metal or plastic lunchbox. You'd have a thermos and everything that would come with it. And
yeah.
But I can't remember if I had one of those or not.
Yeah, there's all kinds of collectible stuff. Like there's, and we could do a whole podcast on Star Wars video games, but there's video games. There's like that. Some people collect video games and play them too, but like some people, that's their thing. There's we talked about there's the Star Wars trading card game. There's other, I think there's like, there's certain role playing games that you can do like vehicle combat, like, but with tabletop pieces.
Armada and
Armada
like that.
Yeah. So there's all kinds of like collectible stuff with Star Wars. I don't think they've done a Magic the Gathering run of cards, but I'm sure if they did, they would sell like hotcakes. So
for Father's Day, I got a Star Wars escape game, and it has 3 60-minute escape things, and you have a little app on your phone, and it's okay. It's you can tell it's a little rough on how they have it set up and stuff, but it's the first one we did. We've only done one of the 3 so far, and I think the second 2 will go better because trying to understand how they were doing it compared to another tabletop escape game we did one time. So, but yeah, that and I knew that I never got it, but I had a couple of cousins got the Trivial Pursuit Star Wars game, I think, and all those kind of things that have been out there as well.
I was at a used bookstore recently. There was a Star Wars board game, but it was one that had a video component, and I think it was one that had a VHS tape that you would play along with the board game, and probably had clips from like the movies or clips from like some actor playing as like an Imperial officer or stuff like that. And I was thinking about getting it just for like nostalgia's sake, because I don't have a VHS player, but I thought it was cool that it existed. So, but yeah, John, you had some stuff in here on a couple things if you wanted to bring that up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've talked about Legos and how that's done, and I've seen it now more so. I mean, I've had a couple Lego, like X-Wing and Millennium Falcon, and a little Life Day scene too. But I have a handful, or I'll get sometimes those Lego, what do you call Advent calendar, the 24-day countdown calendar kind of thing. But when I see when I remember my imagination as a kid, and then I see things like, I think Lego does a great job of helping build that same kind of imagination now with stuff, because like my neighbor next door, he has a big collection of Middle Earth and Star Wars Legos, and he just builds these huge scenes because he keeps adding to them and stuff. And it's just amazing to see how, how that developed over time. And, and it's like, the excitement and the imagination that goes into it, and it makes me think of as a kid when I would see toys and like, oh, wow, what can I think of? And then we also have a family friend, and their son is maybe like 13 years old now, and he's made over 200 short Lego videos. And it's, when you see how he's done this, they're not all that long, sometimes like 20 seconds even, but the creativity and time he puts into that. And I think that's exciting, because when you watch that, the biggest thing for me with Star Wars was the imagination and it's like, even when he had all these toys, coming up with the ideas of how am I playing with this? Where am I going to be? Or even not playing with the toys, but pretending, hey, I'm Luke Skywalker, I'm Han Solo, whatever, and running around and stuff. And so then the last thing I was talking about, since I had that chance to be on the Galactic Star Cruiser, that kind of brought me full circle to my toy days. And because, that lasted for just a couple years, was at Disney World. And I remember talking to a guy who was like my age, similar to around my age. And he was almost giddy, because he's telling me, like, on the first night, he's like, man, if we would have had this when I was a kid, we would have loved this, but my kids don't appreciate, as they're sitting here, because, they're enjoying it, I guess, or having a little fun because you could find Chewbacca or whatever. But it was like, it's not the same, though, as when you grew up and you imagined it. And then the exciting part for me was, with that is, you took part in activities like you were playing like Star Wars, you could dress up. I remember, I played some back in the bar when drinking some, I can't remember the name of the drinks and stuff, but, or then they would take you to Galaxy's Edge and, for afternoon, and you go to the Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run and you see that game table and you could sit by it where, Han or Chewie and 3PO were playing, stuff like that. And it just puts you back into the time with all these little, what you would imagine like with toys. And there was even one scene at Galaxy's Edge where Yoda, they had you in a small room and they had this hologram of Yoda, and he was talking about the the big ultimate moment of the show, of your time there. And afterwards, I think it was the same guy that was telling me how excited he was. He's like, "Did you notice that? It was he looking at you, Yoda? He was like he was just talking to me, and stuff." And so that was what was really cool. And it's like that kind of experience brought me back all the way to like 6, 7, 8 years old or whatever when I'm playing with these toys and seeing come to life some of the stuff that my imagination was bringing back then. And so that's what I kind of appreciate with all the toys. It's just the creativity and imagination, even when that they brought, and then when having that experience, and the awe that even at almost 50 years old at the time, I could feel still, over 40 years late, 40 years later.
Very nice. And yeah, one of the other more kind of, well, I say recent, but it's been 5 years, but for the Book of Boba Fett, playing with toys was actually how they pitched it. Robert Rodriguez had his sons had Halloween costumes and action figures to basically storyboard the Book of Boba Fett. And since it was such short notice, he basically used the action figures and, what he had to shoot a home movie to kind of basically visualize this is what the Book of Boba Fett would be. So like so the play aspect is just very it's just very cool, very important for kids and adults to do. So I think that's the end of our discussion on collecting. Did anyone have anything else before we move to closing? We kind of covered everything. All right. Well, just to give our listeners a preview of the podcast, the Ninth Jedi series will be streaming on, I believe, August 5th, and we'll have 8 episodes. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a podcast over each episode, but it's going to be every other week, basically. So, we'll do the first episode, then it'll be a week in between. So it's not going to be a weekly schedule like when some of the other shows, but yeah, so that'll be coming next in August. So, but for now, I think that is it for this episode of The Secrets of Star Wars. We'd like to take a moment to thank all of our patrons who make this show possible, including Rocco F., Stacy M., Lauren B., Eileen C., and Savannah W. Their generous donations help us to create The Secrets of Star Wars and all the shows here at StarQuest, and you can join them at GiveStarQuest.com. And be sure to follow The Secrets of Star Wars on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, your favorite podcast app, or on the StarQuest YouTube channel. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/StarQuestMedia, on X where we are at SQPN, or on Instagram where we are at StarQuest Network. And be sure to get your official Secrets of Star Wars gear at SQPN.com/merch. And now we'd like to hear from you, our listeners. What did you think of our discussion of Star Wars collecting, and what do you like to collect? You can let us know by sending us an email at starwars@sqpn.com, on our social media pages, or by leaving a channel on our leaving a comment on our channel on the StarQuest Discord server, which you can find at sqpn.com/discord. And feel free to send some pictures of all your cool Star Wars stuff. I'll be sharing mine when the podcast comes out, so you can kind of see what I had. So join us next month as we start our discussion of the Ninth Jedi. So until then, Kathryn Laffrey, thank you for joining me and sharing the secrets of Star Wars.
Thank you, Jeff. It was fun playing with you today.
And Thomas Salerno, thank you as well.
Oh, thank you so much, Jeff. This has been great.
And Jon Koral. Been going a while. Jon Koral, thank you too.
Thank you, Jeff. Had a great time.
And once again, I'm Jeff Haecker. Thank you for listening to The Secrets of Star Wars on StarQuest. And remember, good, another one to add to my collection.
Here's another show on the StarQuest Network you're sure to enjoy. The Catholics of Oz. Find it wherever fine podcasts are found, or at sqpn.com/Oz.